I got married to her today. Get out of the apartment.
The breakup was abrupt and unexpected. We had been living together for 10 years, and marriage was just around the corner. Wait. Is she the girl who sent you those pictures emphasizing her chest?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, come on, between someone that cute and you, it's not even a contest.
Ryan looked at me like I was some dirty sewer rat. It was so revolting that I couldn't stand Ryan anymore, not even on a biological level. Any remaining attachment I had to him vanished completely. There was just one thing that still weighed on my mind. How's he planning to pay the mortgage with a take-home pay of $800 a month? Well, not my problem anymore. I'm Rachel Carter. I spent my youth hesitating to pursue love. In high school, I battled an illness that left me unable to have children. In my teenage years, I wasn't ready to date, and in my 20s, just as my emotional and physical wounds began to heal, I found myself paralyzed when the thought of marriage loomed. In reality, I was once dumped by a boyfriend I loved enough to consider marrying. He told me my parents opposed it, saying I shouldn't be with a girl who can't have children. I immediately backed down, accepting it as my responsibility, but it left a deep scar on me. But then, in my late 20s, I met someone special. His name was Ryan Blake. He was the one who approached me. Still, I couldn't start a relationship casually. I told him the truth before we began dating. To be honest, I can't have children. I had faced rejection before after sharing this. But when Ryan heard my story, he smiled and said,
Actually, I don't want kids anyway.
And so, our relationship began in my late 20s. Ryan didn't want children for a reason.
I already have a kid. I got married when I was 20, but my ex-wife and I didn't get along, so we divorced. My child Mia is about 6 years old now.
He not only had a divorce under his belt, but also a child from his previous marriage. He also paid child support every month. It's not easy to accept that fact, even for me to say so.
Our decisions led to our divorce, and I left. But then I got remarried and started bonding with my new child. Don't you think that's unfair to her? That's why, as a parent, I don't want to bring another child into the world. It's my responsibility.
The more I listened, the more I realized how deeply responsible and caring he was. Ryan continues.
I want to make sure she doesn't feel abandoned or live in poverty. So I make sure to pay more than enough child support. Of course, that means I can't afford to spoil you on our dates.
He scratched his head and chuckled. While our dates were inexpensive, he always made an effort to treat me to meals. Despite claiming he wasn't into fashion, he often bought new clothes, saying, "I just don't want to embarrass you by looking sloppy when we're out together." Even though he didn't have much money, he always found ways to show his care. He couldn't afford to legally marry again until his child turned 18. But he was so full of kindness and love. I felt that no matter what challenges came our way, we could face them together. I decided I wanted to spend the rest of my life with him. After a year of dating, we finally decided to live together. Since Ryan had been living with his parents, he purchased an apartment for us. Initially, we were looking for a rental, but Ryan got excited about the idea of buying. When we toured a condo out of curiosity, Ryan immediately became enthusiastic.
The exterior's old, but inside, it's like brand new. And it's under $150,000? With monthly payments of just $400? That's a steal. We have to buy it.
The fully renovated interior certainly had the fresh scent of a brand new home. In this area, renting an apartment or condo typically costs around $500 a month. The $400 monthly repayment, plus additional maintenance fees, still felt reasonably affordable. But even though it was affordable, spending over $100,000 was a big commitment. While I was still considering, Ryan wasted no time. He borrowed $30,000 from his parents for the down payment and got the mortgage approved. Ryan wasn't considering anything other than purchasing this apartment. At that point, there was no turning back. I liked the apartment too, so we decided to go for it. The sweet, happy life we envisioned, however, began to show cracks just a month later.
Rachel, make sure to deposit money by the end of the month.
For what? I saw the transaction statement Ryan handed me. The balance was $1.27.
The mortgage.
What? It seemed this account was used for the mortgage payments. Ryan pouted and grumbled.
The monthly payment was supposed to be $400, right? And since we put down such a big deposit, the real estate agent said it would be only $300. But now they're charging $600. Isn't this a scam? I can't pay that.
No, we were clearly told that since it's a condo, there are maintenance fees and a reserve fund for repairs, making the monthly payment about $600. I sighed, realizing he had been so thrilled about buying the condo that he hadn't absorbed the details. But I've been covering all the living expenses besides the mortgage. That was the deal, wasn't it? When I calmly pointed this out, Ryan slumped his shoulders in defeat.
Yeah, but I'm paying child support for Mia, you know? That leaves me with only $800 a month.
What? That amount seemed far too little. I almost blurted out, "That's not enough," but quickly swallowed my words. Still, my wide eyes must have betrayed my shock. Noticing my reaction, Ryan looked even more deflated.
Well, the child support used to be about $300 or $400 a month, but now Mia's in private elementary school. That kind of tuition adds up, you know? So I had to increase the payments. She worked so hard to get into that private school. It'd be cruel to make her give it up just because her dad doesn't have enough money, right?
When we started dating, he told me child support was around $300 a month. Now, Mia was likely 7 or 8 years old. That means she'd been attending private school since before we bought the condo. A growing sense of distrust crept over me. Why hadn't he told me about the increased payments? I knew money was tight, but I never expected he'd only have $800 left each month. Discovering this after moving in together and after buying a condo felt far too late. How much is the child support now? Careful not to sound accusatory, I asked slowly.
About $1,000.
Ryan fiddled with his earlobe as he answered. When I decided to date someone with a divorce in their past, I understood his child would always come first. But I couldn't help feeling overwhelmed. That's too much. What about our life together? Paying $1,000 in child support and being left with $800? That means Ryan's monthly income was $1,800, the same as an entry-level salary.
You're thinking my paycheck is small, aren't you?
I flinched as he seemed to read my thoughts.
I used to work at the same company as my ex-wife. After the divorce, I quit and switched jobs. Of course, my salary's lower now.
His defensive tone irritated me a little. But I wasn't with Ryan because of his financial status. I admired his strong sense of responsibility and how deeply he cared for his child. Money wasn't supposed to be a big issue, or so I thought. So, Does that mean I'll be covering both living expenses and the mortgage? Feeling uncertain, I asked hesitantly. Ryan nodded firmly.
Yep. I mean, technically, the mortgage is part of living expenses, right? Oh, but I'll pay for my phone bill and stuff like that.
He puffed out his chest, looking confident as if he just made a grand contribution. Despite the lingering unease about money, our cohabitation was mostly smooth. We both enjoyed gaming, which kept our conversations lively. At the same time, we respected each other's space. On weekends, we did our own thing. For Ryan, his visits with Mia seemed to be the highlight of his life. On visitation days, he'd dress up a little and head out, visibly excited. When Mia was in elementary school, he saw her about once a month. By the time she entered middle school, the visits increased to twice a month. Now, nearly 10 years after Ryan and I started living together, Mia is a high school senior. Ryan sees her 3 times a month. Sometimes every weekend, and even on weekday evenings. I had read online that visitation frequency tends to decrease over time, but Ryan's case was the exact opposite. With such frequent visits, we hardly spent any time together. Even on days we'd planned to go out for dinner, if Mia contacted him, he'd leave me behind to see her. His child always came first. Ryan had stayed true to the promise he made 10 years ago, and I respected him for that. And yet, I couldn't shake a feeling of unease. One evening, Ryan was grinning at his phone. It seemed like he was texting Mia. They had a great relationship and messaged each other often.
Wow.
I understand that he finds his daughter adorable, but seeing a father grinning foolishly like that is unsettling. Curious about what kind of conversation he was having, I peeked at his phone from behind. On the message screen, there was a selfie of a girl in a peculiar pose. Her wide eyes sparkled as she looked up coyly. But more than her expression, her chest was noticeably emphasized.
Hey, what are you looking at?
Noticing me peeking, Ryan quickly flipped his phone over to hide the screen. Was that Mia just now?
Yeah.
Was that girl, flaunting her cleavage, really Mia? Was Ryan grinning at a slightly risque picture of his own daughter? A chill ran down my spine in an instant.
I mean, peeking like that is totally unacceptable. It's a violation of privacy.
Ryan, raising his voice in anger, seemed flustered.
You're jealous, aren't you? It's so obvious. Last time, when I couldn't have dinner with you because I was with Mia, you were sulking all the way until the next day. You're such an embarrassment, acting like a child. Seriously, just stop.
He ranted on and stormed out of the house, shouting, "I'm so done with this." I had never seen Ryan so angry before. Was he upset because he felt I was intruding on his precious time with Mia? Or was I truly showing obvious signs of jealousy? Even so, a lingering sense of unease and disgust clung to me. The girl in the photo had bright hair and was undeniably cute. Her shirt was unbuttoned down to the 3rd button, revealing a glimpse of her underwear, likely a styled, casual uniform look. Even though I had no real connection to her, I found myself worrying about whether she always dressed like that. But more than anything, she didn't match my image of Mia. I remember seeing a photo of Mia when she was about 6 years old, a serene child with single-lidded almond-shaped eyes. In contrast, the girl in the recent photo had round, double-lidded eyes that sparkled brightly. Could Ryan have been so taken with her cuteness and allure that he got excited, even though she's his daughter? And no matter how close they are, I couldn't understand Mia's mindset in sending such a photo to her father. A few hours later, Ryan returned and apologized.
Sorry about earlier.
Despite the unease I felt toward Ryan, I accepted his apology for the time being. Since we weren't legally married, breaking up would be easy. But precisely because of that, I wanted to take some time and think it through rationally. We've been living together for 10 years. People around us call me his wife and him my husband, treating us like a married couple. I didn't want to destroy everything on an emotional whim. However, when the weekend came and Ryan went out to meet Mia, the uncomfortable feelings crept back in. Seeing him so thrilled made him look like a love-struck old man. The thought that his partner was his own daughter made me feel nauseated. Even with time, these feelings kept swirling within me, and I began to think it might be impossible to stay in this relationship. Mia is set to graduate high school this year. After that, Ryan and I had planned to finally get married. Am I really going to break up with him because I'm jealous of Mia? I couldn't express this disgust properly, and Ryan would only see it as jealousy. It was frustrating, but there was no helping it. I resolved to have a calm conversation and end things amicably. But the breakup came out of nowhere.
I got married to her today. Get out of the apartment.
The announcement was so sudden that I couldn't even react with shock. Married? To whom? Ryan had been spending all his time meeting with Mia, so when would he have had the chance to cheat with another woman? He frequently bought gifts for Mia.
This is what's trending among high school girls. Which one do you think is cuter?
He often asked for my advice. So his visits with Mia couldn't have been a cover for an affair. If that's the case, could his new wife be Mia's mother? As my thoughts raced, the answer turned out to be something else entirely. Who is she?
Mia's friend.
Ryan wore the same crooked grin he had when he was looking at those inappropriate photos.
Well, I've been going to Mia's school and somehow ended up being liked by her friends. I guess it's my grown-up charm, huh?
I felt as if all the air had been sucked out of my body. I couldn't even sit up straight. In a low voice, I asked, "Is she the one who sent you those pictures emphasizing her chest?"
Yeah, pretty much. High school girls these days develop so well, don't they? I mean, come on, between someone that cute and you, it's not even a competition.
Ryan looked at me with disdain, as if I were a dirty sewer rat. Compared to a bubbly high school girl, I guess I was nothing but a sewer rat to him.
Well, hurry up and move out.
Ryan seemed positively giddy. I didn't even feel angry enough to scream and resist. Fine, I'll leave right away. Ryan disgusted me so much that I no longer felt even a shred of attachment to him. There was only one thing on my mind. How is he going to handle the mortgage on an $800 take-home pay? Well, that's no longer my problem. The following month, Ryan called me.
You stole my money.
His sudden shouting made my ears ring, but I wasn't surprised. I had been expecting this. It was so predictable that I couldn't help but smile.
Why is my account empty? There was at least $2,000 or $3,000 in there.
He must have been talking about the account used for the mortgage payments that I had managed. Oh, you mean the $3,000 I deposited?
Why is it gone? You're the only one who could have taken it, you thief.
Ryan kept shouting. But I calmly told him the truth. Thief? That money was mine to begin with. I deposited extra so the mortgage payments wouldn't bounce, but now that I'm no longer paying, I simply withdrew it. How does that make me a thief? Silence fell on the other end of the line. My words seemed to have sunk in.
But then how am I supposed to pay the mortgage?
Not my problem. I swallowed the cold retort that came to mind and explained patiently. That condo is your home, Ryan. You bought it, so the mortgage is your responsibility. I've been covering it for you because you claimed you couldn't afford it. And I was fine with that while I was living there. But why should I, the woman you dumped, keep paying the mortgage for the home you now share with someone else?
Well,
Even someone as dense as Ryan seemed to grasp the absurdity of his demands. He lost his momentum.
but,
I could tell from his tone that he was slumped and defeated on the other end of the line. No matter how pitiful he acted, I had no obligation to help him. But what? Don't tell me you married her without even considering how you'd pay the mortgage. Did you really not think this through? Feigning surprise, I drove the point home. Ryan fell completely silent. What a pathetic newlywed. The Ryan I had spent 10 years with had become someone entirely different, drunk on the attention of a younger girl. I had always believed that, despite his flaws, he was a decent person who deeply loved his child. The responsible Ryan I once admired no longer existed. I decided to give him one last chance to redeem himself. Well, there's no helping it. Let's meet at a nearby diner. Bring her, your new wife, with you. Ryan gasped at my suggestion.
okay.
I could hear the hope in his voice, so much so that it practically radiated through the phone. I had no idea what outcome he was hoping for, but I wanted to see some sincerity from him. Ryan arrived at the diner with his wife. As soon as he spotted me already seated, he raised a hand in greeting with a smile. But that smile quickly vanished.
Why are you here?
Ryan's eyes locked onto the girl sitting at the table. She had cool, almond-shaped single-lidded eyes. That's right, she was Mia, Ryan's daughter. She had joined me at the table, waiting for Ryan and his wife to arrive. Mia didn't look annoyed because of her single-lidded eyes, she was clearly glaring at Ryan. With her piercing gaze, Mia lifted just one corner of her mouth.
Is it wrong for a daughter to come see her father?
No.
Ryan fumbled, his words unclear. His wife, standing beside him, poked his hunched back with her index finger.
Geez, straighten up. I know you don't feel great about facing Mia, but just act normal. It's not like we did anything wrong.
This overly sugary talking girl is Ryan's wife. She's really Mia's classmate, and her name is apparently Julia. Of course, she's the same girl who had been sending Ryan those provocative selfies. Although the pictures had been heavily edited, Julia was still young and cute. Very much a modern teenage girl. Her pairing with a man in his 40s, who was neither a celebrity nor wealthy, felt out of place. Julia plopped down next to Mia without hesitation and leaned on her.
Mia, it's kinda weird, huh? Your friend and your dad getting married? Yeah, I totally get it, sorry. But don't look at me like that. I love both Ryan and you.
Even as Julia clung to her, Mia's stern expression didn't change. Julia, who had been looking up at Mia with a sweet gaze, pouted her lips, looking deflated.
Mia, are you mad? Because I took Ryan away from you? At first, he came to our school just to see you, but it kind of felt like he started coming for me. Even the gifts were all for me in the end. I'm sorry for taking your sweet dad.
Julia seemed genuinely apologetic as she tilted her head. Her eyebrows furrowed in concern. Mia glanced at Julia briefly, her tight expression loosening ever so slightly.
A sweet dad, huh?
Mia's expression finally softened, and Julia hugged her arm tightly.
Exactly. That's why I fell for him. Ryan is so kind.
Right. Always thinking about me even though we lived apart after the divorce. He's super kind.
Though Mia seemed to agree, her tone was utterly devoid of emotion. I already knew the story from Mia. Ryan had indeed been in frequent contact with her. While they had scheduled visitation days, Mia's mother despised Ryan and wouldn't allow anything beyond that. Because of this, Ryan started showing up at Mia's school after classes. Mia had told him, "Don't come to my school," but he just kept coming with his usual grin. Even for a close parent-child relationship, having your dad show up at your school was embarrassing.
So, were you really there just for me? Sure, bringing me little gifts now and then was nice. But why come to my school? Thinking back, you kept darting your eyes around, almost like you were scoping out the other kids.
Bullseye. Mia, kind as she was, couldn't outright reject a father who came bearing gifts. But when Ryan and Julia started a relationship, her suspicions turned into certainty.
It was gross seeing you and Julia like that. I knew Mom didn't want anything to do with you, but I couldn't take it anymore and vented to her. And then,
Mia paused. She looked at me briefly before turning her sharp gaze back to Ryan.
Mom told me you'd already remarried. Funny, isn't it? You supposedly married Rachel 10 years ago, so how could you marry Julia? I asked Mom to call your parents, and that's how I got connected to Rachel.
So he had informed his ex-wife about his remarriage, but kept my existence hidden from Mia. Ryan and I had agreed to officially marry after Mia graduated, to avoid causing her unnecessary emotional turmoil. Standing frozen in the aisle, Ryan looked completely flustered as I smiled sweetly at him. We've lived together for 10 years, practically like a married couple. Even though the official paperwork is still pending, you loved me enough to tell Mia's mom we were married, right? You wanted to do the right thing, didn't you?
Yeah, something like that.
Ryan nodded, his response as vague as ever. A classic example of his thoughtless, haphazard approach to life. Mia radiated fury and contempt, while Julia looked bewildered, failing to grasp the situation. In the middle of the awkward atmosphere, I beamed the brightest smile I could muster. Ryan, you loved both me and Mia so much, didn't you? That's what I admire about you. I gently reached out, enveloping him with my warmth. Ryan's tense shoulders relaxed slightly. Did you really think I'd say that? Ryan's shoulders jolted, and he shrank into himself. In a low voice, I leaned in closer to him. Do you think I don't know what you're up to? You told Mia's mom you got remarried just to get out of paying child support, didn't you? You probably whined to her about how you couldn't afford even $300 anymore because you had a new family to support. Apparently, his ex-wife wasn't financially struggling. That's why she cut off a useless man like Ryan. She divorced him out of pure disdain, and now he's a father who shirks his child support payments. Even so, the fact that she still allowed him to see their daughter makes her seem like a saint. Didn't you once say things like, as a parent, I don't want to have more kids, or, it would be cruel to leave my daughter without a dad and in poverty? Didn't you also claim, I want to pay more than enough child support? So which part of that wasn't a complete lie? Is Ryan feeling dizzy? His body is swaying unsteadily. I grabbed his hand firmly and pulled him close, seating him next to me before he seemed about to lose consciousness. We were just getting started. I couldn't have him collapsing on me now. My dead serious expression seemed to jolt him. He opened his eyes wide in alarm. This doesn't add up. I was told you were paying not just $300 in child support, but $1,000. That's why you supposedly had no money, and I covered both our living expenses and the mortgage. So, all of it, everything you told me, was a lie? I leaned in closer. Ryan froze, unable to look away or utter a word. The only truth here is that you loved Mia more than you ever cared about me. I don't begrudge you for cherishing your daughter, it's a wonderful thing. I glanced at Mia, who scoffed.
Oh yeah. He absolutely loved and cherished me. Though I'm not sure if that was really a parent's love or something else.
Mia, though 18, was still a young and impressionable girl. She had grasped the cruel reality.
He didn't care about me as his daughter, but as a young girl, right? I mean, ordinary middle-aged men don't exactly get opportunities to interact with girls my age. Must have been fun for him to hang out with a young girl like me and act all giddy about it.
Ryan's breathing became erratic. His face turned pale as he lowered his gaze. It was clear he couldn't meet Mia's eyes, but when his gaze shifted downward, it inevitably landed on her chest. There's no way he was ogling her in this situation, but even the idea that it crossed his vision made my blood boil. I grabbed Ryan's chin, forcing him to look up.
And it wasn't just me, was it? You were sweet to all my friends too. Back then, I thought you were just a sociable guy. But looking back, you were probably just enjoying your little harem. Gross. Disgusting. Using your role as a father to mess around with young girls. How sick can you be?
Mia's icy, detached words tore Ryan apart. I could feel his frenzied heartbeat against my palm as I held his chin. His body heat radiating against my hand.
Well.
A strange breath escaped Ryan's lips.
Ha! Shut up.
For some reason, he laughed. He slapped my hand away and spat out his words with a twisted grin.
Aha! Stop acting high and mighty, you plain-looking loser. As if I'd waste my time being sweet to someone like you. If only Mia was cuter. I had to settle for you.
His tongue stumbled over his words as he desperately hurled insults. The sheer depravity of his comments caught me off guard. Even though I wanted to shut him up immediately, he pushed past my attempts to stop him.
Well, if there's one thing I can praise you for, it's that you had a lot of friends. It was hilarious how a cheap burger could make all those girls scream in delight. It was like I was some kind of god, controlling them however I wanted. Most of them were plain and dull looking, but occasionally there'd be a jackpot.
Ryan spewed his venom without pause. His eyes gleaming as if to say, "How's that for a knockout blow?" Mia, however, didn't even flinch. She quietly muttered.
You're the worst.
Her voice was cold and detached, refusing to stoop to his level.
Yeah, I'm the worst. Sorry for being such a terrible dad. But don't worry, I'll cut ties with my plain-looking daughter too.
Ryan's words were as cruel as they could get, showing no trace of the responsible man I once admired. There was no hope of him returning to the person I had fallen for.
That's not happening.
Mia said bluntly.
You can't cut the ties between us. No matter what, you'll always be my father.
She was right. Even with divorced parents living apart, their bond as father and daughter was undeniable.
You brought me into this world. That's your responsibility.
And because of that, Mia had every right to demand accountability.
As a parent, it's your duty to pay child support. Got it, Dad?
What?
Mia smiled sweetly, her youthful innocence still lingering in her expression.
You haven't paid child support for the past 10 years, right? I wonder if we can claim that retroactively. $300 a month for 10 years.
Looking up, she seemed to do the math. I corrected her. Actually, it's $1,000 a month. That's what Ryan himself said.
Oh, that's right. So $1,000 a month for 10 years. Wow, $120,000? Thanks, Dad. That'll really help.
Mia feigned excitement, her joy clearly exaggerated. Her enthusiasm was contagious, and I couldn't help but join her in a triumphant, "Yay!" complete with a high five. When there's a common enemy, age differences quickly become irrelevant, and camaraderie forms easily. As we reveled in our moment, Ryan began trembling uncontrollably.
What? You've got to be kidding me, $120,000? No way. And anyway, the $1,000 thing was just a lie I told Rachel. The actual amount was $300, like I agreed with your mom when we got divorced. You're trying to extort some ridiculous amount.
His bravado was undercut by the tremor in his voice. The sheer magnitude of the figure had clearly shaken him. Seeing his pitiful display dampened our celebratory mood. Huh? I responded coolly. So, the $1,000 was a lie to me. Makes sense. The divorce agreement was for $300 a month, so calculating it at $1,000 might have been a bit much. I nodded understandingly, playing along. All right then, let's stick to the original agreement, $36,000. Go ahead and pay what you owe for the past 10 years.
What? Even that? That's still an insane amount.
Ryan could only shake his head in protest.
No way. I don't owe anything. I told her I can't pay because I got remarried, and she said, I don't expect anything anymore, do whatever you want. So if you didn't get the money, it's your mom's fault. Blame her, not me.
Ryan crossed his arms and leaned back arrogantly. No matter how arrogantly he tried to act, the tremble in his voice hadn't stopped since earlier. That's all you have to say?
What?
Child support is a child's rightful entitlement. You need to pay it. Didn't you promise your ex-wife when you divorced $300 a month until Mia finishes college, wasn't it? Before I even finished, Mia calmly extended her open hand, palm up.
$300 a month for 4 more years. That's $14,400. I'll take it all up front, please.
What?
Ryan tried to stand, but I grabbed him by the back to keep him seated. Mia remained composed as she spoke.
Fine. I'll let you off the hook for the past payments. I know you can't pay $120,000. Even $36,000, calculated at $300 a month, would be too much for you.
Staring directly at Ryan, Mia articulated each word clearly.
So, I'll settle for what's owed from now on. Just $14,400. But you're paying it all at once. I don't trust you.
This wasn't a threat, it was a genuine demand. Ryan seemed to grasp the seriousness of the situation, and his panic deepened.
But I got remarried. I really did. I married Julia, so I don't have to pay anymore, right?
Listening to his excuses was a waste of time. I cut him off. Getting remarried doesn't matter. Child support is a child's right. Are you seriously still trying to argue after we've made such a huge concession? Ryan fell silent. Though his lips continued to move wordlessly, he was too shaken to form any coherent words. Watching him flail like this was beyond pathetic.
I'm so glad my mom divorced this guy. There's no way I could deal with someone like this as my dad.
Mia had decisively written him off. Julia, who had been watching our exchange with her mouth agape, remained in a state of shock. Her astonishment was palpable. Mia patted Julia on the shoulder, snapping her out of her daze. Julia flinched as though a jolt of electricity had just hit her.
Julia, the guy you fell for doesn't even pay child support. Still okay with that?
What?
Julia's brows knitted into a frown as she struggled to process what was happening. She seemed like a somewhat carefree girl, probably drawn to Ryan's facade of mature charm. To help her see the truth, I decided to step in. He also can't even pay the mortgage on his condo. Still okay with that?
What?
While personal tastes in partners vary, I refrained from commenting on Ryan's appearance or personality. But financial responsibility is a critical issue. Out of goodwill, I decided to point out the obvious. The condo you're living in now? I've been paying the mortgage on it for the past 10 years. $600 a month every month. Ryan couldn't even handle that. He literally has no money. After being unilaterally dumped by Ryan, I returned to the apartment only once. Under the pretense of collecting my belongings, I got his permission to enter while he was out. But in reality, it was after I had been contacted by Mia, so I felt a bit guilty as I snooped around the entire apartment. What I found was Ryan's bank book. His monthly salary deposits amounted to only $800. In other words, the story that he only had $800 left to live on each month was apparently true.
Look at this. What's appealing about a guy like this?
Mia forced Julia to face the reality. In Julia's view was Ryan, slumped over with his forehead on the table. He didn't even respond to our voices, and it was questionable whether he was even breathing. Sweat glistened on the top of his head, visible through the sparse hair on his crown.
Oh, I might have made a mistake.
Julia stepped back, her disgust evident. The spell of love had completely worn off, and that charming older man, Ryan, now looked like a worm to her. The sight was so unpleasant that she covered her face with her hands.
Well, so much for the excuse of remarriage. All right then, Dad. Pay the child support in a lump sum.
With that, Mia left the restaurant with the devastated Julia.
Julia.
Ryan murmured as he remained slumped over the table. A pitiful man unable to even stop Julia from leaving. Though I wasted 10 years of my life, I took solace in the fact that Julia's future was saved. As I was about to leave him behind, he suddenly grabbed my wrist. Lifting his head jerkily, he clung to me with a hoarse voice.
I've woken up. You're the only one who can support me, Rachel. I love you, Rachel.
His straightforward confession of love made me nauseous. Feeling like hives might break out from where he touched my wrist, I hastily shook off his hand. We were engaged, weren't we? I loved you too, Ryan. But not anymore. There was no way to reconcile. Conversations with him might be enjoyable, but that's all it was. If I wanted someone to chat with, I could just go to a cafe with other friends. I didn't have the kind of unconditional love to forgive betrayal and carry him on my back. Oh, by the way, don't forget the compensation for breaking off the engagement. Ryan's head fell back onto the table. This time, he had no strength left to stop me as I walked away. In the end, Ryan and Julia had a quick divorce. He paid Mia 4 years' worth of child support in a lump sum. He also paid me compensation for breaking off our engagement. His parents, who seemed relatively decent, found a loan shark with somewhat reasonable terms to help him out. The past 10 years taught me something. Ryan's parents see him as a burden. They were probably fed up with supporting Ryan, who returned home after his divorce 10 years ago. When he decided to live with me, they gave him $30,000 for the down payment on the apartment, not out of kindness, but to get rid of him. They were tired of him freeloading at home and being a nuisance. This time, they refused to take him back. For the sake of their grandchild, they even introduced him to a loan shark. It was as if they were saying they'd done enough for him as parents. Of course, Ryan couldn't keep up with the mortgage payments and had to let go of the apartment. All he was left with was debt. It's easy to imagine how miserable and lonely his life must be now. Meanwhile, Julia has become quite fond of me.
Rachel.
Today, we met up again for an outing with Julia and Mia. Although it was initially awkward to be around Julia, Considering we were both deceived by the same man, she's now so attached to me that she doesn't leave my side. I gently adjusted her disheveled collar.
You're just like a mom, Rachel.
Julia beamed as she hugged me with an innocent smile. Mia playfully nudged her.
Hey, it's big sister, got it. Don't be rude.
Oh, right. Big sister Rachel.
Though I feel no lingering attachment to the 10 years I spent with Ryan, I can't deny there's a certain inexplicable emptiness left behind. But Julia's boundless cheerfulness and Mia's candid sincerity gradually erased that loneliness. When people betray you, it's natural to become wary of others. Yet, it's people who heal those wounds as well.